Welcome back to Meet the Candidates, Women Voters Matter. And my name is Jewel Green, and I will be co-moderating today's episode, part 1, with the head of SIDOR Committee for Trinidad and Tobago, Ms. Terry Ince. Terry, are you there with us?
Good morning. Yes, I am.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
Terry. It's
Joel.
lovely
Good
to have
morning,
you.
Tobago. Thank you. It's
And we
happy to
have
be
with
here.
us here today the amazing Minister Webster-Roy. Minister Roy, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Terry. Good morning, Joel. Good morning to all those who
Morning,
are viewing
Minister.
online. It's a pleasure to be here with you all this morning.
And this is a rare opportunity, not so rare for the minister, because I know this is something you do on a regular basis. But we want to have a conversation because we just out of International Women's Day in March 8th, Women's History Month for the entire March, and we're into April, and here we are in election season. So without any further ado, Minister Webster-Roy, could you just give us a taste of what the electorate of Trinidad and Tobago have to expect from you should you be elected again back into office as the minister, the member of parliament for Tobago East?
Okay, so from 2015 to present, I have been the government's focal point on issues around gender and development, and I've always aimed to use my voice not only to represent the interests of our women and our men, but our women, men, boys and girls in Trinidad and Tobago. Also serving as an elected member of parliament for Tobago East, I made sure that within the work that was being done nationally, that the people of Tobago were not left behind, left undone. So recognizing some of the issues facing our women in my own constituency, Tobago East, I would have taken some of the teachings from being gender minister and applied it to my constituency and came up with what we call the Chai and Chat Initiative, where we create a safe space for women to come together to meet, where we discuss the various issues that affect us, where we form a sisterhood and a network and we help each other to bond and to learn from each other and to grow. But in terms of a national perspective, while we could note the developments over the years, we recognize that there's still work to be done in Trinidad and Tobago. It is important for us to not have gender equality as a goal, but a reality. And for that to happen, it must be mainstream. We must have gender in everything we do within the healthcare sector, within the public sector. Everything must focus on the issues around gender and development, especially in a society like ours, where we're seeing, despite the work done over the years, despite the efforts made to improve legislation, to improve public policy and programming, we're seeing where women are still predominantly the ones affected by gender-based violence. And how do we bring about that peaceful society that we all deserve? How do we bring about the change that is required? How do we get our society to understand that if our women and our girls are safe and protected and nurtured, it would only be down to the benefit of all Trinbagonians, and a safer society is a society where we'll get better outcomes in terms of our economic development, in terms of social progress. So those are some of the things that I intend to continue focusing on as I move into my next term, I'm proclaiming it.
I like that. The power is in your tongue to say what you want. And as women, we also have to remember that. What do we want for ourselves as women of Trinidad and Tobago? And Terry, I'm going to hand over to you now to be able to have your input.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. And thank you again, Minister. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations on being the nominee to represent Tobago East in this upcoming election. And yes, you have done a yeoman's job over the course of your terms. And so what I would ask, because you've done so much, what one thing you think you could have done differently? And it's a two-part question. Were you to be elected for a third term, what specific issue will you champion? What will you champion that will address women and girls, men and boys, but women and girls' development and continued development as we march toward attaining substantive equality?
And one of the things I think that could have been done differently is the way we engage civil society, the NGO sector. It is only in the late half that we've really got the opportunity to strengthen that relationship and the opportunity to use civil society to help us to drive the agenda even in a more structured manner. So with the development of the STEP program, where the Survivors Transformation and Empowerment Program, we've got the opportunity now as government through Office of the Prime Minister, Gender and Child Affairs, to provide that grant funding opportunity for NGOs to work alongside us to create opportunities for survivors. But that's one of the areas that I wanted to further strengthen, to change the approach, to ensure that while we call for a whole of government approach, that it truly what we truly need is an all of society approach, getting every single sector of Trinidad and Tobago to understand there's a role and a space for all of us to play in ensuring that we have a safe Trinidad and Tobago for all, to ensuring that gender equality is not just a catchy phrase, but it is a reality, something that we work towards and that we attain and that we maintain. As we look towards the future, I would really like for us to look at all our legislation to see where there are areas of concern and strengthen our legislative programming or legislative agenda so that our issues affecting our most vulnerable are catered very early on in the next term, and that we roll out laws and programs and policies that will impact positively on the lives of our women and our girls especially, as well as the vulnerable men and boys who are so also in our society.
I couldn't agree with you more. Minister Webster-Roy, when we look at what's happening in terms of women's involvement in politics, we are seeing that for this general election, this parliamentary election, we're seeing about 26.6% of the candidates are women. And when we look at our population setup, it is it's closer to a 50-50, right? When we look at that agenda, that 50-50 in terms of proportionate representation of men and women in the society. What would you say that needs to be done or can be done to encourage women to enter the political arena, and not just obviously not just in the parliamentary elections or the THA elections, but even on the local levels in their communities, because women tend to be more in the background. You know, we love to say, oh, we'll just be in the back doing, we'll just sweep and mop and we'll be in the back here doing all the grunt work. But how can we encourage women to come to the forefront so that when we say we want something, we are not asking, but we are setting the policies and setting the stage for success for women in Trinidad and Tobago?
I smile and I laugh because I think on more than one occasion, we've had opportunities where we've been trying to encourage women to be involved in politics and decision making. The government partnered with Seawell recently, where we hosted not only women from Trinidad and Tobago, women from around the Caribbean. And we're seeing where even through our parliament, where we're having more debates for women to really get women out and involved in the decision making space. But I think one of the drivers of women not wanting to come forward is the nature of our politics. It has become so dirty and the vitriol. It makes you wonder if you should come out of your comfort zone and put yourself out there for public ridicule.
Yes.
And that is something that we seriously need to have a conversation and change, because if you have young professional women out there showing an interest in a particular party and wanting to be expressive and vocal and to put their points out there, and then you immediately see on social media they're being referred to as, and I'm quoting because this happened very recently on my own page, where we had a group of young women from our youth league coming out and sharing their views and openly supporting their party, being called Dunsibat, prostitutes. Who young professional would want to put themselves through that? So one of the first things we have to do is to change the way we campaign, change the way we discuss the issues, change the way we treat women who bring themselves to the forefront to contribute towards national development. Even when my picture of my family from nomination day, I was there with my two daughters, my son, my husband, and then some of the comments made about my daughters. I got to know, I said to them, I said, I know that you all are proud of what I'm doing, but I don't think I want you all to ever walk this road. Because who would want to be a young professional with all the skills, the attitude, the ability, and to put yourself in because you really want to contribute to national development, and then you're constantly bullied, ridiculed? So we have to change the mindset. We have to change the discourse. We have to change the way we treat women in politics. And once we get to that place, we'll attract even more sisters to the table.
Yes.
And for women who have the opportunity to sit around the table, it is our duty, despite all that happened, to encourage other sisters to come forward. Because you see, our voice isn't just an accessory. Our voice is required around the table. We bring a unique perspective, a new perspective, and our voices help to shape better policies. But for that to happen, we have to motivate other sisters to come forward, and all of Trinidad and Tobago will have to make the climate more tolerable to women wanting to bring themselves out there.
Yes.
Right.
I love that you said that, and we're going on a quick break, but you hit the nail on the head. Women deserve and need to be in all spaces where decisions are being made.
Absolutely.
And I have to agree, we need reform in terms of how we are approaching the political campaigning and the political race, and how we're treating not just women, but how we're treating ourselves as human beings. We need to really have a close look at that and have some changes of the heart. So we want to thank Minister Webster-Roy for being with us this morning. We wish you all the best on your campaign trail and continued success wherever you go, whatever you're doing. As you said, there's power in the tongue. So we wish you continued success, of course. And please don't go any further, don't go far. Get your morning tea and come right back to us here on Women Voters Matter Part 1, right here on Tobago Updates in beautiful Scarborough, Tobago. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Thank you.